In this video, I will introduce another data structure which R provides, and that data structure is called data frame. So we've already looked into lists and we've seen how useful lists can be because they allow you to save values of different types or different classes. If you can recall from our previous video, we created a list using list function, and we saved the name of an employee, city of an employee, their salary, their tax, and the countries in which they have previously lived. And that all seems a reasonable approach, except the fact that this list function only allowed us to save information about one particular employee. So what can we do if we want to save another employee, information about another employee using lists? So we can do something very similar. So we can create another variable um, with the name of employee2, and then we can use an assignment operator, and then we can use list function, and inside the list function we can provide the name of the second employee, which is Bob, the city where he works, which is London, and then the salary 1500, 200 is the tax, and in that way we can create a list which can be saved into another variable. And if you have 4 employees, as we have in this scenario, in this example of ours, we can use this list function 4 times, create 4 variables, and then save each of them in 4 different variables, and things will be quite okay. But not all the times we have this limited amount of information. I mean, we can have information about 50 employees, we can have information about 500 employees. And if we want to create, if we want to take the same approach, creating 50 or 500 variables, it doesn't seem a very neat approach. It doesn't seem a very elegant approach, and you'll have to keep remembering all the time which employee you are dealing with, and you have to remember the names and so on and so forth. So a good approach in that scenario is using a data frame. So what data frames allows you to do is effectively create sort of list, but what you can do is that you can provide these vectors. So the vectors we've created early on, so employee names, employee city, employee salary, employee tax, and what you can do is that you can pass all these vectors into data frame function and then save it in a variable. And in this way you can basically create a data frame. So the effectiveness of data frame can be seen while subsetting. So when you want to retrieve certain information from this data frame, you can get some powerful features which are provided by data frame. But that's basically about data frames. What you have to remember, that you can use this data frame function and you can provide these vectors, and it will create these employees. And this variable is now holding information about all these employees. So you don't have to go. So about all these employees, this employees variable is holding information about all these employees. You don't have to go and create a new variable each time and call list function each time and save a list to a completely new variable. You can just create this one variable, and that will hold information about all the employees. Now, another important thing which you need to keep in mind is that all these vectors for data frame, it's a requirement that all these vectors, all the vectors which you are passing as an argument, they need to have same number of elements. So if you have 4 names, then this number of cities should be 4, the number of salaries should be 4, because they are kind of associated with each other. And how they are associated with each other, we can see it in just a moment. So that is pretty much it. And once we create this data frame, we can basically see the output, how it is structured, how this information. So this information is created in a data frame, but how is it exactly structured? And then we can see the type and structure. So I've already written some of this code just to save a bit of time, which we can spend in typing. So that is pretty much it. So what I'll do is I will quickly create these vectors, and what I can do over here is, okay, let me, in fact, I'll just leave it over here. Now let me create the data frame. So we've already created these vectors. Now I'll select these line of code, and I'll create a data frame. So a data frame is created by executing this piece of code. And now if you want to see what is inside a data frame, we can run this statement. And now you can see what do we have exactly in data frame. So in our data frame, as I was telling you initially, so you can think of data frame as 2-dimensional, because we've got these rows and these columns, and we have employee name, employee city, employee salaries, employee tax, and in each row represents information about one employee. So this is the information about Alice. The second row contains information about Bob. The third row contains information about John, and fourth row contains information about Mike. So you can see that now I'll show you how to access this information in the next video perhaps, but you can see that how this information is organized in rows and columns, and we can use row numbers and column numbers to get any particular piece of information, or a single row or a single column, but all that we can see in the next video. So I think that is pretty much it which I wanted to cover in this video. I'll show you one more thing. So I'll clear the console, and just to show you the type of employees. So as I was telling you earlier, that data frame is effectively a list. It creates a list of all these vectors basically. And the important thing is that all these vectors should have similar number of elements. And if I see the structure of this data frame, employees data frame, we can see that it has 4 elements. Now the last 2 are numerical types, but if you can see names and cities, now this is the default behavior of data frames. It thinks of these values, although they are not categorical, it thinks of these values as factors. I can now use this parameter strings as factors equals false. So I can use this just to modify the behavior of data frame and think of names and cities as characters rather than a factor. So if I run this, and now if I try to see the structure of employees again, what I'll see that now it is treating these values as characters rather than factors. So if you use this string as factors equals false, it will change the behavior of data frames and you can see the desired result.